don't even know if this is the right bandana. This is the right I feel like this is the right shirt. Hi, you guys. Welcome to my channel. I am just Shotty. Look here, I am so tired, y'all. I've been up for over 24 hours, so forgive me if I start looking like Mermaid Man from SpongeBob. Just, he just be staring his face at Blake's bear and mouth wide open into a smile. Just, yeah, I'm really tired. I've been I've been on one today. I decided that I want to go on a cruise for my birthday. Like I talked my sister into, being okay if, like, you guys just show up on the cruise and, I mean, you want to party with me for my birthday? If you got some money for a cruise this September, message me. You see my email in the description. Hit me up. I'll give you the dates and everything. I'm so hyped. But yeah, we're just gonna go in on this scary story times. Let's go.
Okay, so this story is creepy. Follower named Gabriella sent me this story from Lithuania, and we're gonna call it SUV. And she said that this happened about 2 years ago in mid-July. And she says that her and her friend would always go to this specific gas station, would park at this specific spot, get off, would go get snacks, come back to her car, sit, relax, talk, and smoke. And she said that this was their favorite thing to do because it was so peaceful. Until one night, a weird, dark SUV pulls up and a man gets down. He doesn't go inside. He's not there to meet anybody. He's just walking, pacing back and forth, staring at them. Very creeper vibes, like this. And she says that this lasted for about 5 minutes. He got back in his car and he left, but only to return after a few minutes. He came back several times and did the exact same thing. And the girls were like, what is going on? Like, he was just coming, parking at the same spot, just pacing back and forth, and occasionally just like glancing at them. And she says that it felt as if he was studying them. Eventually they decided to leave. Her friend dropped her off at home and she was kind of on edge. So she gets home, gets ready for bed, and instinctively she looks out her window just to be sure. And sure enough, there was the black SUV parked directly in front of her house, like this, just staring towards her house. This SUV was only there for a few minutes and it ended up just driving away and it never came back. So she chalked it up as a coincidence. Maybe she's paranoid, she's exhausted. She's like, this can't be the same person. So a few days pass and her friend decide to go back to the gas station, thinking that maybe, again, they're just being paranoid. But this time they brought 2 other friends for safety and reassurance. And sure enough, a few minutes later, the same man pops up. Same man, same SUV, and does the exact same thing. The scary part is that this time he approaches them. He approaches them and he says, I've seen y'all here for a long time and that is why I keep coming back. No. And Gabriella says that the way he said it, it just made them feel so uncomfortable, and they debated calling the police, but they figured, well, he actually didn't do anything to them, so there's nothing that the police could do anyway. So they were like, okay. So this man ended up leaving. They all go inside the gas station, they get some snacks, whatever. They come back outside and they see this paper folded underneath the windshield wiper. She says that what she saw made her blood run cold. They grab the paper, they open it, and it was her home address that was written on that paper. So they eventually stopped hanging out at that gas station, and she said that over the next few weeks, she would see little snippets like SUV just driving by, really weird things like that. She never saw this man again. He never spoke to her. He never went up to the door, like knock on it or anything. And then eventually it just stopped. She said that this never happened to her friend. He never went to her friend's house. It was only her house. And till this day, she still doesn't know exactly what he wanted. Scary is that, like, why did it start and why did it just stop? Like, is this guy obsessed? Do we have a stalker on our hands? I don't know, but this is creepy. Thank you so much to Gabriella for sending me this spooky, creepy story. And if you guys have any other stories that you'd like for me to read, please send them via DM or email, and I'd love to read them. And if you guys like all things scary, all things spooky, and all things paranormal, make sure you follow, and I will see you guys in the next spooky story. Bye!
Yo, the whole time, I was like, what is that? I thought it was a fly. That's not a fly. That's my lamp. Yeah, friend, no. What I be telling y'all about the safe places? If you notice somebody who is watching you, makes it obvious, sits there for 5 minutes, 5 minutes, we would have been out of there so quickly. I would have went to a safe place, a police station. Oh, I know where every police station is. I know where the cops be. Nowadays, Sheets is a safe place now. A fire station, a Gold's Gym. Like, we have a lot. Well, shoot, libraries aren't open 24/7 no more. I know you're like, when were they ever open 24/7? I'm in North Carolina, so these college libraries be 24/7 to the residents. But there's a lot of safe places. Know your safe places. I would have never taken my friend home after that. No. She talking about why he's only following me because he liked you. Like, he saw your friend, yeah, you're cute around, but no, he wanted you. You talking about you get home, you see the same SUV bed. Man, I would have took that dang on bat. I would have got a bat. Did you know that they say that it's like attempt of murder if you have a bat in your, like, near your bed and you use it on somebody? That was just like, oh, you wilding out. Not in North Carolina. You on my property. Girl, tell me why I was so tired the other night that I left the front door open. The front door open. We got back from the gym. I was like, Mom, why is the door open? She was just like, were you sleepwalking? And I was just like, I was really, really tired. Girl, I gotta start getting some sleep. I be so busy. This is my busy week, girl. But yeah, friend, no. I would not take my friend back to our house knowing that we just experienced something creepy. Yeah, I would have definitely reported it because you do stuff the way. Like, what are we doing? We're not gonna know. We need a paper trail. I need you to know that I reported this on this day. So just in case this happens again, when I report it again, you'll take me serious and be on standby to come and get me. I wonder what race they were. Because you know, if they was a Catherine or a Rebecca, well, shoot, Rebecca's any. Yeah. But anyway, the cops would have been like, whoop, whoop. Pulled up real quick, honey. What neighborhood was they in? No, friend. Me and my best friend used to have a gas station that we go to because we worked at the same spot on purpose. I was like, hi, my friend. And we would go to the same gas station every morning before work to get their donuts and fill up on gas and everything. Oh, yeah, I missed that gas station. They had some good donuts. But yeah, no, be careful, be aware of your surroundings, and don't make silly choices. Cause you tell me that you seeing this guy outside your house. That's crazy to me. That is real crazy. And he came over to speak to y'all. That's wild. The moment he started walking towards us, I would have rashed up into that glove department and pulled out that, you feel me? Click. Wait, what's up, homie? What's up? What's up, homie? Hey, come on now. Y'all playing games. Y'all are not serious. Not serious.
If you want to sleep tonight, you should probably skip this video. This is 100% true story about a woman in Wisconsin. She didn't believe in ghosts. In fact, she thought it was nothing more than nonsense or people going crazy. But as soon as they moved into this house, she would notice things that she could not explain. She was seeing shadows. She was hearing noises. But she said for the most part, it was like living in a normal house. One night, she was upstairs in her bedroom folding laundry, and she hears talking coming from her son's room. So she walks over to his room, the door's closed, and that's when she hears her son having a full-on conversation with someone. And her first thought is, who is my son talking to at 11:30 at night? So she opens the door. She looks in his room, and he's not in his bed. And that's when she noticed that he's on the floor. He's crouched under the edge of the bed, leaning under the bed, talking to someone. So she says to her son, who are you talking to? Who's under the bed? And he looks at her and says, I can't tell you. So she's like, well, what do you mean you can't tell me? Who's under the bed? And her son's like, he'll get mad if I tell you. So at this point, she's getting annoyed. She goes over to look under the bed. But when she looks under the bed, there's nothing and nobody there. She's like, okay, you know, kids have imaginary friends, so just get back in bed and stop doing whatever you're doing. And she puts him back in bed. Several weeks pass, and she keeps finding her son talking to someone underneath the bed, the same thing that he was talking to before. At this point, she's starting to get a little bit freaked out. Her first thought, of course, is not ghosts, but in fact, something might be wrong with her son. So she takes him to a child therapist. The therapist says he's completely fine. She doesn't diagnose him with anything. It's probably just, you know, a kid's imagination. But he continues to do this for months on end. Then one day they're down in the living room and she notices some bruises on him. And she's like, where did you get those, honey? And he's like, I can't tell you. I can't say. She presses her son. She's like, you have to tell me. Something is not right. Like, you have bruises all over you. Something's not right. You need to tell me. And her son starts crying. And then he freaks out and runs up to his room. She doesn't know what to do. She's like, what am I gonna do about my son? That night, she wakes up to her son screaming bloody murder. She runs in the room, and And when she opens the door, she finds her son halfway under the bed, and what looks like someone is pulling him under the bed, and he's holding on for dear life. And this is pretty crazy to me because something very similar happened to my dad in his parents' house. That's a story for another time. So she pulls him out from under the bed and then looks under the bed, and of course there's nothing there. So she decides to take him into her bedroom. They're laying in bed and her son falls asleep, and she's up late, distraught, like, what am I gonna do? And then she hears, shh, hey, come under the bed. And she's like, what the hell? What the helly? What the helly, Barry? No, she doesn't say that. She looks over and she sees that her son is sleeping still. So it wasn't him that spoke. And then it speaks again and she hears, hey, I need to talk to you. And it's a dude's voice. And it continues prodding her. And it's like, get under the bed, come under the bed. And she's like, no, I'm not going under the bed. Would you go under the bed? So this man, or whatever it is, starts yelling at her. Horrible, horrible things, obscenities. And so she grabs her son and they leave. They never went back. They sold the house. And when she talked to the neighbors that still live in that area, they said that multiple people have moved in and nobody stayed. So that house just sits there. I kind of wonder what it is, you know? And why does it want you under the bed? If you want to hear about my dad's experience with something really similar, go to my next video. If you saw my last video, you know that we're talking about this demon that wants to drag you underneath the bed. So if you don't want to hear about that, keep scrolling. But if you're part of the ghost gang, stick around. So in my last video, I told you about this story about this woman whose child kept hearing something under the bed and then was getting like dragged under the bed. And something very similar happened to my own dad. And this is a completely true story. So I'm pretty sure this was just after my parents' divorce and my dad was staying at my grandparents because we had moved out of state and then we moved back. It was like a whole thing. And this is kind of where all the haunted stuff started in my family now that I think about it. So my grandparents, when you walked into their house, they had like one of those doors that close into the wall, and in between that was a hallway and two rooms. There's a room on one side and a room on the other side. The room on one side was my grandparents and the other side was a guest bedroom. All of the kids, always, all of the cousins, everyone was scared of that one bedroom. There was also a motion detector light that would go off randomly when there was no motion to be detected. So my dad is sleeping in there one night. He wakes up suddenly in the middle of the night. Something reaches up from underneath the bed and grabs his arm, grabs it really tight, and starts trying to pull him underneath the bed. And he's fully awake. This is not a dream. He's fully awake. It's pulling him underneath the bed and he's like fighting it to get out. He gets back on top of the bed. He's a grown man. This is a full adult being dragged under the bed by some kind of demon or whatever. There were literally marks on his arm the next day from whatever that was. So then when he gets another place for all of us to live, because we just moved back to the state, of course, he moves us into a haunted house, of course, without knowing. He didn't know. It was haunted when we moved in. But that's where I started having all of my ghostly experiences. So a lot of these stories that you hear about like shadow men, Ouija boards, like all of that, all of my personal stories, they started when we moved into that house. And my dad told me while we lived in that house that he didn't believe in ghosts because he didn't want me to be scared as a kid. Then I just thought I was delusional. When I was like 18, he told me this story and I was like, you literally told me that it wasn't haunted.
Girl, I don't think this is deja vu. I feel like we've seen this video before, but we ain't seen the second part. I don't think. Yo, nah, not at this grown age, honey. No, honey. Because I just told y'all about I left the door open. My mom was walking all timid and she was like, you was too calm. And I was like, because I know God got us. Because God know I'm crazy, bro. So yeah, no, friend, I would have been fighting. God knows I'm fight or flight. I am fight. I'm a crazy fighter and I will be fighting. That could not be me at this big age. Something grabbing me, girl. Bye. Girl, I can't even imagine that. Because immediately I like this. Immediately. Like, what you doing? Immediately. So no, friend, that was not cool. I did not like that. I didn't. And the crazy part is, I'm a girl. I don't know if the rest of you girls are like this, but there's ain't no way nothing can fit under my bed. Ain't no mother freaking way, honey. All them shoes, suitcases, all that stuff. I got like 3 projectors under my bed. Ain't no freaking way, bro. I got my weave under my bed. Ain't nothing about to fit under my bed. That's crazy. That is very wild that you went through that. I mean, your dad went through that, and that lady and her kid. Now that you gotta listen to these kids. The kids saying that something's under the bed. Believe them, because where did they get that from? There's no, like, you know, back in the day we had Barnaby Jones and all that. We had like stories and cartoons that depicted that. They don't have that now. as kids. They don't have, there's none. I don't see that in any of the shows, and I watched a few of them. I watched a new SpongeBob episode. I'm excited about coming out on Friday. I'm not sponsored by Nick, but we all 90s kids. We know what's up. But yeah, no, friend, believe them, because they don't know. They don't know, and they're usually telling the truth. Kids tell the truth. They're innocent. They're telling the truth. Believe them.
I'm gonna tell you guys about the scariest paranormal experience I've ever had in my life. Little quick context, I grew up in a very scary haunted house. I accidentally made a Ouija board when I was 6, so I was constantly followed by terrifying experiences my whole life. So this specific time, I think I was 12 years old. Sorry, excuse that beeping in the background. And at the time, I had this loft bed. So it's kind of like when you go to college, the dorm beds, right? You have the ladder and the bed is on top, and then underneath you have all of your space. So I had one of those until I was like 12 or 13. And I used to see such scary shit in my house that I loved being up high, because where'd my light go? Okay, that was so rude. The sun like covered it. Anyways, I love my loft bed because I like to be able to see what was going on around me. I felt like I almost had immunity being able to see up high and being able to see my doorway. So one of these specific times, I had several spirits. It's a different story in my home, but one of them was the most antagonizing one. His name was Seth, and it was a straight from hell experience. This was not a friendly spirit. This was an evil entity that latched onto me the most. So Seth would fuck with me all the time. He was terrifying looking. He was tall. He would have to bend down to come into my door, and then he would come into my door and he would look at me frequently. And I remember one night, I would go to sleep terrified almost every night, crying. I would beg my parents to give me sleeping pills. I even had them take me to the doctor because I thought I had insomnia. I was just so scared I could not sleep anywhere. So essentially this one night, I'm in bed in this loft bed, and it's important to note really quick, it's a metal ladder. So you can really hear like the little ting 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 as you're walking up the ladder, okay? And it was October during this time. We had this jar downstairs, this glass jar that was shaped like a pumpkin, and my mom would put, you know, pretzels in it or candy corn or whatever. Very distinct part of the story though, it's important to remember. I was upstairs, all the rooms are upstairs. This pumpkin jar is in the kitchen downstairs, right? So with this pumpkin jar, when you lifted it up to get a snack and you set the jar lid back down, it would make a very loud sound every time you would close it. You could just hear the glass clinking. And so I remember one night I had the OG iPod Touch, like the first one ever. It was my best present, and I would literally watch YouTube videos on it back when YouTube was a little icon and it was built into like the iPod. It wasn't an apps download. I would watch YouTube videos because I was always so afraid to fall asleep without sound or noise because I kept seeing and hearing terrifying shit. So I'm watching YouTube videos, normal routine, it's 2 a.m. and like even when I was young still, like I shouldn't have been staying up that late and waking up that early. I had school, all that, but I was just too scared. So I'm watching YouTube videos, and all of a sudden I hear the sound of the pumpkin jar clinking. Like I literally hear it opening and shutting, opening and shutting. And so anyways, I was at this pumpkin jar, right? And I hear just opening, closing, opening, closing. I knew no one was awake because I could see very clearly from the little view I had in that loft everybody's room. I have to walk past, kind of get down to the stairs. So I turned off my video. I remember I paused it and I was just listening there in fear, hearing this jar downstairs go open and shut and open and shut. And then it stopped. And it was quiet for like 2 minutes. I was still sitting there, frozen, video was still on pause, 12 years old. And anyways, all of a sudden it sounds like there's running up the stairs, like someone is absolutely barreling up the stairs, and then it just stops. And my heart rate, I remember I was so scared. I wanted to say something, but like my parents started believing me with stuff, so I kind of struggled a little bit with that in silence. I was too scared to call for anybody. I didn't really know what to do, and this also happened a lot of the time. So I kind of waited there for a minute and I held my breath, and after a couple minutes I didn't hear anything. So I thought I was maybe overreacting, hearing things, or it could have been my dog. That's how I used to justify a lot of what I went through. So I turned my video back on, and then I start hearing laughing, like maniacal laughing and heavy breathing. I press pause immediately. Right when I press pause, I don't hear anything. I play the video and I hear the laughing again. And at this point I was like, hey, I just need to go to sleep. So I put the blanket over my head, played my video on the old little YouTube app on that iPod Touch, and was just trying my best to not look at anything. So that maybe I'm psyching myself out, being out of the blanket, looking at stuff, looking for things, you know, being crazy. And it was so clear and vivid on these steps of this loft bed. Like when you could hear anybody, when I would get in the bed, you could just hear like that metal clinging, like it was impossible not to hear it. out of nowhere, I fucking hear clink. And I knew it was the bottom step. And I remember my blood just ran super cold. And then I heard the laughing start, and then it stopped immediately. And then I heard clink, like the second step going up. I remember I was so scared. It's so hard to like play this back. I know it doesn't probably sound that bad in that moment. Just hearing someone come up the steps to your bed, but knowing that no one's there, no one's in your house. And then I hear another clink. And then I hear one more, because there's 2 more to get to the top. One more, and then I hear the second one, which just means now if you're climbing with your hands, that's all 5 steps. Then it's silent. I remember just not knowing what to do at all, panicking, freaking out. And then I heard the laugh, but it was so much closer, so much louder, so much more absolutely terrifying. And once I heard the laugh again, I honestly can't really recall what I did. But the blanket, remember how in my stories where I've touched on feet and demonic entities love feet? That's again a different story for me, a different time. I will break that down for you guys if you want me to. This is where the feet origin started. And I mean, it was before the story. It happened to me for my whole childhood. But I just remember feeling the blanket ever so slightly pull up to where literally just my toes were out. And then it felt like someone was doing this to my toes. Then I stood up, I started screaming, crying. Parents wake up, come in there, and you know, they're like, oh, you're just having a nightmare. I can't tell you exactly why that experience stuck so hard with me. And all these years, I'm literally afraid of loft beds to this day. My kid will never get a loft bed. I remember when I was in college, we had those, like the dorm beds, and I was scared with 3 roommates in the room, just a little PTSD, because then after the incident, it happened like 2 more times. That's probably the most memorable thing for me in that house.
Girl, no. And what's this thing about the foot thing? Is that the tie between that Nick person that you remember they did the Nick documentary, and it was like he was obsessed with feet? Is that how they're tied together? Like, girl, this is my first time hearing about the feet thing. Do y'all know about feet things? Cause I like feet, bruh. So what is going on? Don't tell me that. Don't tell me that, bruh. You know when somebody have a newborn baby or just a baby, you just put their feet on your face and you just say, you know, girl, don't tell me. Don't tell me about the feet, bruh. Oh, I love me some footsie. Love playing footsie. Oh, that's so good. Girl, I was watching her video and then I saw him walk across and then he circled back. He came back. I was just like, they're behind you, girl. He's behind you, girl. You know, like in a movie. And then he got in the car, bro. I was just like, and she was just so nonchalant and calm about it. I'm just like, oh, she know him. But me, I still would have been fighting because what? I wouldn't be aware of my surroundings. You know, I'm over here listening to the story, but I'm looking at her background. Immediately, I clocked him immediately. The moment he came in screen in the back of her window, I was just like, who that? Oh, he just walking by. And then he came back. I was like, where was you going? I guess he was driving beforehand. That's the only way that makes sense. Girl, I was just like, nope, that makes me not want to, you know, record videos in public with my doors unlocked. But I was just like, when it was first beeping, I was just like, is a train coming? And I was like, but it's not stopping. And is her door open? Why her door open while she's telling this scary story? Girl, it was so much going on, but no, friend. Why? You know what I would have did. You know I would have been patiently waiting for that ass to get to that top step so I could kick whatever that was in the motherfucking face. Like, you got to go. What we doing here? Not this, not that. We're sleeping. And YouTube was built into the iPod Touch, because I had the iPod Touch, but I didn't think I had the first generation one. I did classic. Well, I had to. She must be younger than me because I had the Touch before college. And she said she was 12. So yeah, that had to be the case. It had to be. Because what? Yeah, I was like, they had that? I'm over here trying to remember back when YouTube first came around. And I'm just like, but yeah, no, friend, that was scary. What have been fighting? I know exactly the jar she's talking about because my grandma has those jars. But it's not pumpkin. It's like It's like a you know those candles, those glass candle things that you hold, and then there's like a jar, a candy jar on top, and you pull it and you know pop it up. She has a few of those, and then she has one that sits that she has full of candy that's dated, probably very old candy that I still eat. It's probably so dated. But yeah, friend, no, the moment I heard that, I would have been like zoned in. Like if I hear anything, I zone in real quick. I'd be like, can my brain rationalize what I'm hearing? Can I? Oh yeah, I can. Yeah, I can. I know what that is. And if I can't rationalize it, I'm going through the whole house looking, cutting lights on, like, what was that? And usually it's just the AC or something silly or something. Like sometimes my soap falls in my shower because I didn't stick it in the right spot well enough, which is wild because one time it fell and it had been a whole entire day. So a whole day, which means it should have been, well, not like a whole day because, you know, I take showers every day. But the thing was, it had been long enough that it was dry and it should have been stuck to the tub, you know, not moving, not budging. And it fell and I was just like, nope, that's not even right. So yeah, friends, she's talking about light. I just realized I did this whole video without a light. Like I got this light on, but I don't have my phone light on. That's hilarious. Funny stuff. But like this video, follow all the creators and subscribe.